What you just heard are not sound effects. They are auditory fragments recovered from the very reels we are about to discuss. Echoes from incidents recorded not just on celluloid, but in the blood and bone of those who witnessed them. They are the reason these films were seized, buried, and stricken from all public record. Tonight, we unseal a sequence of files concerning the most dangerous form of artifact, the accidental document. These 5 accounts span decades of cinema, from the silent era's eerie tableaus to the gritty realism of 1970s horror. Each film, in its production, captured something it was never meant to. Each reel became a crime scene, a piece of evidence so volatile that our order had to intervene. These are not movies. They are testimonies. And their creators were their first victims. Before we begin, subscribe to Night Howl Files and activate notifications. What we reveal here is not film criticism. It is forensic analysis. And you won't want to miss what's uncovered next. Our first case does not originate in a fog-shrouded forest or a forgotten tomb. It was born in the electric glow of a Hollywood studio, where the lines between illusion and reality are perilously thin. This is case file NHF 738, The Cursed Rushes of Luna di Sang. In the autumn of 1961, Italian director Aurelio Moretti began principal photography on Luna di Sang, Blood Moon. It was to be a lavish Gothic romance, filmed at Cinecittà Studios. The plot was standard for the era. A young noblewoman falls for a brooding stranger with a strange aversion to daylight. The actor cast as the lead, the enigmatic Constantine Volpe, was an unknown, insisted upon by a shadowy production company that funded the film. Crew manifests list him, but no other public record of a man by that name exists prior to 1961. The first anomaly appeared during the dailies. The cinematographer, Luca Conti, noted a bizarre technical glitch. In scenes where Volpe's character was supposed to merely bare his teeth in anger, the developed film showed more. The canines elongated, not through clever editing, but as if the celluloid itself had captured a biological process too swift for the human eye to register. The studio technicians blamed a faulty shutter on the camera, but the same anomaly appeared on the backup camera's footage. Conti's personal notes, recovered from his flat, state, "The film sees what we cannot. It sees him." The atmosphere on set grew heavy. Actors reported a constant, low chill in the sound stages, a cold that clung to the bones. The scent of old earth and copper would waft through the air, with no discernible source. The sound department logged persistent, low-frequency growls on their audio tapes, initially dismissed as generator noise. Most telling were the reflections. In one daily's reel, Volpe stands before an ornate mirror, a key prop. His reflection is several seconds out of sync with his physical movements, and at one point, it turns to look directly at the camera crew, its eyes gleaming with a feral amber light. Constantine Volpe, on set, never broke character. The incident occurred during the filming of the transformation scene. Moretti, a perfectionist, wanted to use practical effects, prosthetics, and clever editing. He did not get the chance. As the cameras rolled under the set's artificial full moon, Constantine Volpe began to convulse. It was not acting. The audio recording captures the distinct, sickening sound of bones cracking and reknitting, of sinew stretching and fur erupting from pale skin. The camera operator, Giuseppe, kept filming, either from professionalism or sheer terror. The footage exists. It is not a man in a suit. It is a record of a metamorphosis, brutal and complete. The creature that stood where Vulp had been let out a roar that distorted the audio track into pure static. The set was sealed by men in unmarked suits within the hour. The official report stated a catastrophic electrical fire. Giuseppe, the camera operator, was found in his home a week later. The official cause of death, a heart attack. The coroner's private notes, which we have acquired, mention unexplained, bestial claw marks contusing the heart muscle. All copies of Luna di Sang were supposedly destroyed. Only one print, the original camera negative, was smuggled out by the cinematographer Luca Conti, who mailed it to a post office box in Vienna before he vanished from a moving train. The file has been marked contained under Cinematic Quarantine Protocol. The entity known as Constantine Vulp is believed to have used the production as a form of hunting ground, a way to move among prey under the guise of fiction. The negative is stored in our deepest archival vault, sealed in a silver nitrate-lined canister. It has been noted that on the anniversary of the incident, the film canisters in that vault hum with a faint, resonant frequency. But the glamour of European studios was not the only hunting ground. Our next file takes us to the frozen, isolated landscapes of the North, where a documentary crew sought a myth and found a truth that devoured them. Case file NHF 815, the Fjällström footage. In February of 1978, acclaimed Swedish documentarian Elias Fjällström led a small, hardened crew into the Vindulfjällen Nature Reserve. His goal was to create a realistic portrait of the Scandinavian wolf, to dispel superstition with science. His crew consisted of a sound engineer, a wildlife tracker, and a cameraman. They were equipped with the latest in portable film and audio technology, including a newly developed thermal imaging camera. Their permits were in order. Their intentions, by all accounts, were pure. The first deviation from the plan was the silence. The tracker, a Sami man named Nils, noted in his journal that the normal sounds of the forest, the birds, the squirrels, even the insects, had fallen silent. It was an absence more frightening than any sound. Then, the thermal camera began to pick up anomalies. A massive, bipedal heat signature would appear on the periphery of their camp, standing motionless for hours in temperatures that should have been fatal for a human, before vanishing without a trace. The audio recordings from this period contain a faint, rhythmic pattern beneath the wind. A deep, dual-toned breathing, like a large animal with two sets of lungs. Rational explanations crumbled one by one. The tracks they found were wolf-like, but the stride was impossibly long, and the prints showed a grotesque, semi-opposable thumb claw. Their own equipment began to turn against them. Playback of their daily footage would sometimes reveal a tall, gaunt figure standing among the trees in the background, a figure that was not there when the shot was composed. The smell was the final straw, a thick, musky odor of wet fur and old blood that would permeate the camp, causing the crew to vomit. Nils, the tracker, begged Fjällström to turn back. His final journal entry reads, "Elias thinks we are filming wolves. He is wrong. We are being curated. We are the subjects of this film." The reveal is the footage itself. On the final night, they decided to set up a final ambush shot near a known wolf trail. The thermal and standard cameras were rolling when something emerged from the treeline. It was not a wolf. It walked upright on distorted, digitigrade legs, its body a patchwork of mangy fur and raw, glistening skin. Its head was a nightmarish fusion of human and wolf, with eyes that burned a cold white on the thermal imaging. It did not howl. It spoke. The audio, though heavily distorted, isolates a single guttural word in archaic Norse, utlajai, outsider. Then it looked directly into the lens and the footage cuts to static. A search party found the camp a week later. It was perfectly intact, supplies neatly stored, the tents undisturbed. The crew was gone. The only items missing were all their film canisters and audio tapes, except for one. The final reel was found buried in the snow a kilometer away, as if it had been returned. It contained the footage described. The official investigation concluded the crew fell victim to a sudden avalanche. Their bodies never recovered. The case was closed. The Fjallstrom footage is classified eyes only, alpha-level clearance. Our ethnolinguists confirm the word spoken is from a dialect predating the Viking Age. This was not a random attack. It was a territorial statement from a lineage so ancient, it perceives our technology as a trespass. The entity, designated Vindulfjallan Sentinel, remains at large. We monitor the reserve, and we note with deep unease that every few years, another group of documentarians or hikers vanishes in that same valley, always leaving behind a single, perfectly functional camera, its memory cards wiped clean. The hunger of these entities is not confined to the wilderness. It follows the scent of human congregation, seeping into our places of respite and recreation. Our next case emerges from the flickering decadence of a silent film palace, where the silver screen was not the only thing that was silent. Case file NHF 522. The starvation of the Orpheum. In the winter of 1928, the Orpheum Theater in downtown Chicago was a jewel of the Roaring Twenties. Its manager, Alistair Finch, was a shrewd businessman, but also a superstitious man. To boost attendance for a faltering horror serial, he purchased what was advertised as an authentic European folk art display, a collection of 7 life-sized wax figures depicting scenes from werewolf folklore. They were strikingly detailed, with real animal hair and glass eyes that seemed to follow you. Finch placed them in the grand lobby. Attendance skyrocketed. The first incident was logged by the head usher, a young man named Samuel. He reported that each morning, he would find one of the wax figures in a slightly different position than it had been left the night before. A hand raised, a head tilted. The night watchman, an old drunkard named Joe, swore he heard low, wet breathing sounds from the lobby after midnight and complained of a smell like a butcher's shop in August. Dismissed as fanciful, these reports were ignored. Then the theater's cats began to vanish. No bodies were found. Only small, melted patches of wax on the floor where they were last seen. A strange malaise fell over the regular patrons of the Orpheum. They began to look gaunt, pale, complaining of a constant, gnawing hunger no meal could satisfy. Yet they were drawn back to the theater night after night, their eyes fixed not on the screen, but often staring blankly toward the lobby. The air grew thick with the scent of hot wax and old blood. Projectionists noted that the film reels would sometimes slow, as if the machinery were straining, and faint, bestial shadows would be cast upon the screen from no discernible source. Alistair Finch, initially delighted with his success, grew thin and nervous, his ledgers now filled with frantic, rambling notes about the quiet guests and the price of the feast. The horror culminated on the night of the full moon, December 25th. A blizzard had trapped a full house inside. The power failed. In the panic and the dim light of emergency lanterns, the true nature of the display was revealed. The wax figures were not mere statues. They were pupil states, vessels of a symbiotic, parasitic organism drawn to the latent psychic energy of fear and excitement. As the audience screamed, the figures began to melt, not into formless puddles, but reforming into emaciated, wolf-like creatures made of sentient, hungry wax. They did not attack with claws or teeth. They simply embraced the patrons, and where they touched, the human form would soften, liquefy, and be absorbed into their shifting masses, silencing the screams into a thick, bubbling gulp. When the power was restored and the doors were forced open the next morning, the Orpheum was empty. Not a single patron, not a member of staff, not even Alistair Finch was ever found. The lobby was spotless. The plinths where the wax figures stood bare, polished to a high shine. The official explanation was a mass hysteria event, with the entire crowd fleeing into the blizzard, lost forever. The Chicago police file remains open, but inactive. The only physical evidence recovered was Finch's ledger, found on his desk. The final entry, written in a shaking hand, read, "They are not representations, they are invitations, and the guests have finally arrived." This file is sealed under Sanguine Wax Protocol. The entities, classified as puppet mold predators, are believed to be extra-dimensional, drawn to locations of high emotional resonance. The Orpheum was demolished in 1930. Core samples from the foundation, however, still show a high concentration of animal lipids and human DNA. We monitor theaters, museums, and haunted house attractions for similar acquisitions. The display has not been seen since. We fear it has simply found a new, more crowded lobby. From the crowded darkness of the city, we journey to a place of vast, empty light, where the sun bleaches the bones of the land, and the things that hunt do so not from shadows, but from the blinding glare of the open sky. Case File NHF 911, the Gila Bend recording. In the summer of 1955, the small, sun-scorched town of Gila Bend, Arizona, became the focus of a federal geological survey. The team, led by Dr. Arthur Lowell, was investigating strange seismic readings, not earthquakes, but a consistent subterranean thumping like a massive heartbeat. Lowell, an avant-garde artist at heart, brought along a custom-built device he called a resonance imager, which he claimed could translate subterranean vibrations into visual patterns and audible soundscapes. He believed he could paint with the voice of the earth. The first translation was a low, rhythmic, dual-toned lube dub that shook the dust from their trailer's roof. It was unmistakably a heartbeat, but of a scale that suggested a creature whose size was beyond comprehension, sleeping deep beneath the mesa. The local Navajo guides, upon hearing the recording, immediately left the site, refusing to return. They spoke of an antelope that never runs, a buried god of hunger and earth, Lowell, a man of science, dismissed this as superstition. His own notes, however, betray a creeping unease. The pulse is accelerating. It has gained 12 beats per minute in as many hours. Something is listening to us listen to it. The desert itself seemed to turn against them. The team reported hearing deep, guttural snorts and the sound of massive stones grinding together from empty canyons. The heat became a physical presence, oppressive and sentient, carrying the smell of hot stone, dry blood, and ozone. Most disturbing were the mirages. They would see a giant, skeletal antelope standing on a ridge, its horns like petrified lightning, watching them with eyes of molten rock. But when they looked through binoculars, there was nothing. Lowell's resonance imager began projecting its patterns onto the walls of the trailer at night, shifting, spiraling mandalas that resembled ancient petroglyphs of monsters, which the team would find themselves compulsively drawing the next day. The reveal was auditory. Driven by obsession and fear, Lowell decided to amplify the signal, to wake the muse, as he put it. He wired his entire generator output into the imager. What came back was not a heartbeat. It was a voice, a deep, seismic, grinding roar that formed words in a language older than humanity. Our linguists have tentatively translated the looping phrase as, "The sun is my shadow, the bedrock is my flesh. I am hungry for the meat that scurries." As the transmission boomed, the ground beneath the trailer fissured. From the crack, not lava, but a thick, black, tar-like substance erupted, forming into a shifting, predatory shape with horns of obsidian and eyes of fire. A wer-beast not of the moon, but of the scorched earth itself. The site was found by local authorities days later. The trailer was crushed flat, as if by immense pressure from below. All members of the team were missing. Dr. Lowell's resonance imager was a melted husk. The only surviving piece of evidence was a single reel of audio tape, found half buried 100 yards away. It contained the final transmission. The official report cited a catastrophic methane gas explosion. The tape was filed as irrelevant and lost until it was routed to us. File NHF 911 is classified under Geomantic Hazard Protocol. We believe Lowell did not discover a creature, but rather the dreaming mind of one, a telluric entity, a genius loci of the desert that perceives the surface world as a thin skin teeming with morsels. The Gila Bend entity is designated the subterranean stag. We have since detected similar resonant pulses in other arid, geologically active regions across the globe. The tape is stored in a lead-lined, soundproofed vault. On quiet nights, the guards report hearing a low, rhythmic thumping from behind the door. It is getting faster. Our final case returns us to the very dawn of the moving image, a time when the alchemy of light and shadow was new, and the boundaries between the captured moment and the living one were dangerously undefined. This is the origin point of our understanding. This is case file NHF 001, the Seance Reel. Paris, 1898. The Lumiere brothers had astounded the world, and in their wake, 1,000 alchemists and showmen sought to push the new medium further. Among them was Claude Valliere, a reclusive photographer and occultist. He was not interested in capturing life. He was interested in capturing presence. Using a camera of his own design, forged with silver filigree and lenses ground from purported moon glass, he sought to film the soul. His subject was a powerful physical medium, a woman known only as Mademoiselle Evangeline. The location was an abandoned abbey on the outskirts of the city, a place long rumored to be a crossroads of spiritual energy. The first reel was a success by Valier's twisted standards. While the film showed only Evangeline in a trance state, the accompanying phonograph recording captured more. Beneath her chanting, a second, far more bestial voice can be heard, growling in a language that has never been identified. But the true evidence was on the celluloid itself. When viewed frame by frame, the shadows in the room behind Evangeline do not remain still. They congeal, stretch, and for a single 24th of a second frame, they form the perfect, sharp-edged silhouette of a hunched, canine creature looming over her. Valier's journal entry from that night is ecstatic. It works. The silver and the light, they do not lie. We have not summoned a ghost. We have summoned a guardian, a loup-garou of the astral plane. Emboldened, Valier scheduled a second filming. This time, he aimed to capture a full materialization. The air in the abbey grew thick and cold, the scent of ozone and wet fur so potent it made the small crew retch. The camera, unaided, would sometimes were to life on its own, its shutter clicking in the empty room. Most chilling were the photographic plates Valier used to test his lighting. They developed not images of the room, but of dense, dark fur, and eyes that burned with a faint internal phosphorescence. Evangeline, once radiant, became pale and gaunt. She spoke of a great wolf that followed her in dreams, a creature not of flesh, but of primal memory. She was no longer a medium conducting a seance. She was bait, dangling in the dark. The event is recorded on the final reel, known as the seance reel. The film begins normally. Evangeline chants. The shadows in the room deepen. Then the film itself seems to bleed. A dark stain, like old blood, seeps from the edges of the frame, concentrating behind the medium. It does not move like a shadow. It moves with muscular, tangible weight. As Evangeline's chanting reaches a fever pitch, the stain coalesces. It does not become a wolf. It becomes the idea of a wolf, a thing of pure predatory instinct given form through the medium of light and belief. It is a silhouette of absolute blackness, a void with teeth and claws. It turns its head, and though it has no eyes, the camera lens shatters from the force of its gaze. The film ends in a spray of celluloid and a single, deafening roar that physically warps the wax phonograph cylinder. The abbey was found empty. Of Claude Valier, Mademoiselle Evangeline, and his crew, there was no trace. The only thing left behind was the camera, its silver filigree tarnished black, and the final ruined reel of film. The French authorities, baffled, declared it a murder-suicide, though no bodies were ever found. The case was forgotten by all but a small group of Parisian occultists, who whispered of a cursed film. It was through these whispers that the nascent order, the precursor to the Night Owl files, first learned of the incident and acquired the evidence. The seance reel is the cornerstone of our archive, classified under Origin Protocol, Nocturne. We believe Valier did not merely capture a spirit. He used the new technology of cinema as a scrying lens, peering into the archetypal realm where the concepts of such creatures are born. He did not summon a werewolf. He gave the first one a doorway. This file suggests that the physical entities we document in all other cases may, in fact, be mere echoes, manifestations of this primordial, astral predator that was first given a voice through the silver nitrate and the arrogance of man. The real is stored in a vacuum-sealed chamber, behind a door of cold-wrought iron. It is never projected. To do so, we fear, would be to open the door once more. And this time, it may not close. These 5 files from the cursed vault of cinema confirm a truth far more terrifying than any fiction. The night is not empty. It is a canvas, and upon it, the oldest hungers paint themselves using whatever medium they can find. Celluloid, wax, seismic vibration, even the very air we breathe. From the staged horror of Luna Di Sang to the summoned archetype of the seance reel, the lesson is the same. There are things that wear reality like a skin, and when the light of perception falls upon them, they do not vanish. They simply turn and see us in return. These were not mere monsters. They were statements. The entity in the Italian studio revealed a predator using our own stories as camouflage. The sentinel in the Swedish snow showed us a territorial intelligence that predates our nations. The puppet mold predators of the Orpheum demonstrated a hunger that feeds on the very act of watching. The subterranean stag taught us that the ground beneath our feet can dream, and its dreams are ravenous. And the seance reel, it warns us that our attempts to document the dark can sometimes give it a shape for the first time. The line between observer and participant, between filmmaker and subject, is a lie. When you point a camera into the darkness, you are not capturing what is there. You are inviting it to look back, and it always accepts. If you have encountered a film, a photograph, or any recording that you believe contains evidence of the unnatural, submit your account in the comments below. Be precise. Describe the anomalies. The order reviews all testimonies. Some are chosen for investigation. Your sighting could be the key to understanding the next phase of this hidden war. Subscribe to the Night Howl Files. Keep your lanterns close and your projectors light brighter still. The shadows are not just moving. They are learning to pose for the camera. And the next name etched into these archival records could be the one who pressed record. This has been a declassified transmission from the Night Howl Files. Until the next moon rises, stay awake, stay wary, and never, ever watch alone.